it should be noted that like despite technically being myself queer in the sense that I self-identify as pansexual, um, we're talking about like a level of in-group communication that some people might chafe at me engaging with. I find it funny and I will persist nonetheless. I'm afraid that my desire to rubberneck here is greater than whatever like sense of obligation I have to leave the discourse be. I don't. This is niche content here. Okay, this is niche content. Um, well, it's like a half true narrative, but the true version of it doesn't have to be bad, right? The true version of it is that there is a difference between being transgender and transsexual, and there's nothing wrong with being either. And you can be one or both or the other, though I guess basically everyone who's transsexual is transgender. Um, and they have different experiences, those two groups of people, or like overlapping, generally speaking, the cissexual versus the transsexual people. And there's nothing wrong with any of this, but the discourse happens when they converge here, and the narrative that emerges is that the desires and incentives of non-transitioning trans people, like non-binary people who don't want to transition medically, these desires are so different. So here's a really, really common one, okay? And this is something trans women love to complain about, and I don't blame them. Trans women, you might have heard about this before, generally speaking, don't like being thought of as clocky. Like, trans women would not appreciate it. I'm giving you guys like hot tips here in case you're ever out at the club and you want like info on how to interact with people. Trans women don't like it if you go up and you say, I can tell you're not a cis woman. Not a great opener. Really, it's not. It's not a great opener. You're striking out, like you're batting 0 out of 1,000 on that one. Um, Pretty much. But there are lots of AFAB non-binary people who are like, I wish I could look more androgynous. I wish I could look more clocky. Like I've heard this from a lot of AFAB non-binary people, right? They're like, David Bowie. They're all, I wish I could like convey androgyny beyond just my clothing and aesthetics, but like in a more, fundamental way, right? But I'm not going to transition. Like they're not going to take testosterone over it. They're not going to transition over it, but they still want that. And this is such a big difference in how you want to be perceived and how you want people to talk to and about you that it invariably causes discourse, like 100% of the time. It's a thing. And this is like the current nexus of that discourse. This is a topic where if you say anything confidently, people will get mad at you. Trust me, I know. You can take either position and people will get mad at you. So this is about trans women are not quote unquote male socialized. You can say either version of this, either definitive statement will lead to people getting mad at you. If you say trans women are male socialized, people are going to get mad at you. If you say they're not, people are going to get mad at you. There's enough variance in people's lived experiences and also in the definitions of these words that there will always be some group of people being mad at you. Very rarely do people take this as like personal statements about your life. They take it as general statements about the nature of transness, which I think has always been kind of a waste of time because like, what is the fundamental distilled nature of blackness? Could you ever find two black people who would agree on everything it means to be black? I thought the whole point of the whole, I don't know, like third wave intersectional sociological perspective is the understanding that these are like very modular, socially variable, taxonomies that kind of fluctuate and don't refer to any specific objective reality. But then people get mad if you say that. So, you know. But it can be a little bit suffocating if you're talking about like your personal experiences, but everything always gets treated as a general statement about the community. So like you always have to hedge your bets with everything. Like, you know what I mean? So if a trans woman said, of course trans women are male socialized, she would get dogpiled, and like maybe deservedly, because that's a very broad statement. But if she said, I'm male socialized, she would still get dogpiled in a lot of cases, because people interpret that personal statement as a general reflection of, because it's like, well, you can't say that because that makes us all look bad, you know what I mean? And it means that people are going to get mad even about statements you're making about yourself, which means that everything has to be prefaced with a whole bunch of asterisks and conditional statements, and this is just my opinion, which is suffocating. And realistically, nobody's going to do that all the time, but like, people are not going to do that all the time for themselves. So it does make it pretty difficult to do the discourse, you know? No, you know what I'm talking about? Just think it's kind of interesting. And there might be problems with it, but like, there's just no room for that. I guess it's always like this with discourse, but I feel like it's going to get even more insufferable with time, because people tend to be more dogmatic online in response to how powerless they feel in real life. Um, like, the less control you have over your own environment, the more you want to enforce control over the doctrine of others, the more orthodox you want everyone else to be. So the more people feel despairing about their future and their life, they're like, well, at least I can go online and make sure that everyone's, engaging in the behavior correctly. Vaush not explaining this great? That's incorrect, I'm afraid. You thought that I was in favor of like a pluralistic, disciplined approach to this. I'm actually not. I have not said anything incorrect. I'm explaining it perfectly. Thank you. Anyway, it's like it's. I feel like, in my opinion, I've just always felt like the subject is just not that interesting, I guess. Because the more you know about it, the more it just boils down to like, well, I guess, or that varies. You know what I mean? It'd be like, it's like level, like to go back to the racial analogies, like, well, discussing what it means to be black or whatever, where like, no matter what you're talking about, on the far end of that like bell curve, in regards to the sophistication of the discussion, the correct final answer is, yeah, I don't know, man, I think it depends. Which is not like the only thing you can say about it, but it is the last thing you can say about it. So it feels like that's always where it's ending, you know? Me at the end of the discussion, thumbs up. I feel like people are going to get more dogmatic online over this over time, which is a little unfortunate. I don't really see why this is a discourse. Was Dave Chappelle cooking with his take on how the LGBTQ community isn't one community, it's several in a car? Man, I feel like maybe it's like the older I get or whatever, the LGBT community is not several communities in a car, it's several 100 million people on a planet. We have to demolish the fascist obsession with uniform, distinct communities, or the liberal obsession with medical taxonomy, you know? You can find trans people whose experiences are totally out there, and ones that are basically just cis except for a couple of technicalities in terms of their personal experiences. It really varies. It's important to understand like general tendencies, because it helps you understand. Like, I have known, well, I'll just refer, in my head, I'm thinking of like one person in particular. I know a person who is a trans woman who is like not at all concerned with any metric whatsoever of passing, or of like femininity or social conformation to that topic at all. This is a rarity. I know exactly this one person who is like this. It's impressive. This is certainly not like a broader trend, but I feel like if that person was to talk about their experiences in a broader sense, they would get like dogpiled, you know? Because these people's experiences are very, very different. At the end of the day, every person is got their own deal. I don't know what I'm talking about. We had to cap off the stream somehow talking about the end of the world. Good palate cleanser, ain't it? I don't know. I think it depends. I don't know. I think it depends. I don't know. I think it depends. She's like, I don't know. I think it depends, you know? I'm too straight to understand why people are getting pissy. Okay. The real reason is this. Okay. Are you ready for it? This is like another grand unifying theory. Okay. Everybody has a them that exists in their head, not like pronoun wise, but like a person. They have a version of themselves that exists in their head, and their real existing self exists in contradiction to that imagined self. For some people, the difference between their real self and their imagined self is massive. For others, it's very, very small, and they live more or less in alignment with their self-perception. Everybody, however, wants to be treated like the person that exists in their head. They might not think they're ready to be treated that way. They might not think that it's time or that people necessarily need to, but they want it. Everybody wants that. Doesn't matter if you're trans, cis, gay, straight, whatever. It doesn't matter. And the tension here, the drama, the concern, the emotional baggage is that different people exist in different kinds of tension with that internal self, and people on some level are upset that you have not interpreted who their internal self is and responded in kind with it. You have not magically determined their internal self, which they might not even know the scope of, and acted and spoken as though you're speaking to that person. This is how everyone is on every level, and different people, there's a different divide, and they have different kinds of tension, and this is why people get upset. Everyone. It doesn't matter if you're trans or cis. It's all just different symptoms of the same duality there, the same fundamental contradiction. So if you want to get good at interacting with people and making them happy and having fruitful relationships, you have to get good at trying to read past what people are and trying to understand how people self-recognize what they think of themselves as, and, try to help them mitigate that. Don't just acknowledge who they are internally, but help them move closer in reality to who they are internally. That's the mark of a good friend. It's why good friends should argue sometimes. You don't want to just be the one that pierces the veil. You want to be the one that helps bring the veil closer to the lived experience. Oh dear, I don't really know what I want to be seen as. That's fine. Most people don't. Most people just have very general ideas. You can feel it from friends and allies. You know they're only being kind. You know that deep down they don't really see you as your chosen gender. Well, here's the problem, and I'm gonna maybe target you a little bit directly, because what you're saying isn't necessarily wrong, but I'm gonna blow you up for it anyway. You also might not see yourself that way, because if you really did, you probably wouldn't be so quick to assume that other people's perceptions of you are duplicitous. You're reading in them a degree of self-doubt. Now, doubt is human. I'm not saying that self-doubt means there's any illegitimacy to your self-perception. What I'm saying is your ability to accurately read how others are perceiving you is compromised by your own self-perception. So this is everyone is subject to the biases of their own perspective. You know what I mean? There's no way to objectively know where anyone, including yourself, is in any of this. You're just trying your best, right? You work on it and you work on it and you get better at it, hopefully, and then one day you die, right? You never quite get there. No one ever has. No one's ever gotten there. You try. That's the point of living. You try your best. So I'm only saying, Sprinkled Fox, you're not wrong, but you might be more wrong than you think. Does that make sense? Are you in alignment with yourself? Me? I think I'm doing decently. There's always work that can be done. I think I do all right, Or you're not objective. Well, no one is. No one is, I think a really common example of this is in the context of relationships where, and this is so common, one person will think something about their partner that their partner will deny about themselves, and it's like an irreconcilable gulf. You know what I mean? The girlfriend might be oh, I think I'm ugly, and then the boyfriend is no, you're beautiful, and the boyfriend really means it here. I mean, we're not talking, there's no level of second order social duplicity taking place here. The boyfriend fully believes this, and so does the girlfriend, but the girlfriend might project insincerity onto the boyfriend. Many such cases. All of life is just a remix of this fundamental communication and introspection error, Happens all the time. It's happened to you, it's happened because of you. It's happened to me, it's happened because of me. Da 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 da. It's just a battle we all must fight. It is the cycle of samsara. That's true. That's true. How is this the fault of capitalism? I think we might have found a problem we all suffer from that's not actually rooted in capitalism. Capitalism will exploit this problem, but we might have found something more fundamental. Huh, even a Wikipedia article? The self-discrepancy theory? Hmm.